Welcome, Gavan O'Connor. Uh, and what a great thing it is to have you on today. And I think it's a great interest of viewers that to understand that your background is that you were a farmer, you then became a councillor of the city of Colac, you were a secondary school teacher, and then you joined federal parliament. Now, which of those was the most beneficial? So is it better to say, for those that might be viewing, that the more broad-based or the more experienced you are in life, the more likely you are to be a better representative of the people? Yes. Yes. And in your era, if I could put it that way, Gavin, uh, it would have been if you were growing up in Colac, yes, the bank would have been a possibility, but you were living also in the period of Gough, that tumultuous time where Gough was Prime Minister and then got booted by Sir John Kerr, and there's a huge amount of disconnect. So did that have an impact on the young Gavin about, I think I need to do something more than just be a bank. We won't tell the AEC. What about if you were the early version of Garrett then? What's his? Yes. Um, yes. No, we don't want to upset Gareth then. Yep. Yes. Just as a sort of a slight deviation, I didn't have this in my mind prior to starting this, but we might go down this path just to see if you're aware. There's been recently, I think it's Professor, a lady who's actually got through to the High Court in Australia and successfully got the records from the palace about the period of Gough Whitlam's dismissal. And it's now public record that that the palace well knew and for many months beforehand and was advising John Kerr on matters about why and how to dismiss the Whitlam government. This was, of course, never known to Australians until she was successful in the last year. Does that make a difference, or did you know about that recently, and would you have a different view about the world if you knew that? Yep. Yes. Oh, so you were in Canberra that day? Ah, yes. Hmm. Yep. So I think the follow-on question might be that because you're working with the Industry Commission and you were helping the opposition, does that really mean that you were helping Malcolm Fraser to win against Gough? Yep. Yes. So following on that politics a bit further then, you contested the 84 election for Corangamite and lost against Stuart MacArthur, who was the sitting member. He went on for another decade or so. Um, and But later on you became the member for Corio, which has been a strong Labor seat for maybe 100 years. And this is all for viewers' benefits rather than for you, but I'm just trying to get it some sort of order so the guys can sort of get their mind around it. So you were really the member for Corio. You were there with Bob Hawke and Paul Keating when they were Prime Ministers. Um, Keating loses, you become secretary to the leader of the opposition with Kim Beazley. You're the shadow minister for agriculture and fisheries, so you're in shadow cabinet. And then tell us about that tumultuous time. You know, how did policies go? How did, Keating gone from the parliament? Did that make a difference to the way the joint worked? Or give us a bit of a feel for it. Yes. I think during that time, that tumultuous time, Stuart MacArthur as the Liberal MP, I think it's fairly well known that he used to say that he'd attend more pre-selections than almost any other MP because there's always someone on his side of Parliament trying to knock him off, let alone Labor trying to knock him off. So he's always an individual that found great pressure to retain his job. Is the you're up front with in the House with both Hawke as Prime Minister, Keating as Prime Minister. Keating during his period when he stood down as Treasurer to really effectively stalk Hawke, then Prime Minister, and then of course the caucus awarded Keating with enough votes to become Prime Minister, and then he went to the election and won. But Keating in the House as the tormentor almost of the opposition, was he that effective? Yes. So, So factions have really become quite a thing now. In your day, it was more, in your federal parliamentary day, it was more focused on the ALP were particularly factionalised, but you can say, that's certainly become the Liberal National Party view as well, that they've got a series of very distinct factions within it. And, there's quite an argument now about whether factionalism is not delivering representation, but in fact delivering minority views. What do you think about that? Uh, is Would you do it all again? Would you, if you had your time over again, if you could talk to a young Gavan, would you enter Parliament? Would you do all the things that you've done? Would you do something differently? So jumping back to politics, there's an old saying, at least the ones I've picked up along the way, which is a bit telling, and it may or may not be right, but the saying, if I remember it, is that people who end up in politics, you know, members of parliament, often have three characteristics. They tend to be either mad, sad, or bad. Would you agree or disagree? Well, on that note, Gavin, we've reached the sort of time to thank you because we've covered a lot of ground, and I think the viewers will be have been enthralled by the insights you've provided, the life experiences you've got, and the insights that we've all gained. And there's a lot of things I didn't know, and I've learned so much more. So it's been very good of you to provide your time and to listen to my questions, and hopefully you won't reflect on being the sad, the mad, or the bad. And on that, well, and thank you, Gavin, for your time, your effort, and your great insights. And we'll talk again soon.